Welcome to another episode of Just My Baby Daddy podcast. It's your favorite baby daddy, AJ. And today we have a interesting subject that's coming about that started from a conversation I had when talking with one of my dad friends. And we were just talking about, these kids nowadays. It was doing a sports event and, crying on the field and like you don't get in the game. It's cold on the sideline. It's like these kids are soft. Kids nowadays is getting softer and softer left and right. And I decided I'm gonna have this conversation with another parent that I know completely understands what I'm talking about. And so what I decided to do, I reached out to my man Chris, and I appreciate you being on the podcast today.
Man, for sure. Down for it. Let's do this.
So let me start off by asking you a question, right? We
Uh-huh.
always talk about our kids are soft because they're not built as tough as we used to be. They're not like resilient as we used to be. But what exactly does resiliency in a child look like to you?
So resiliency to me is having the ability to overcome their own challenges, right? Without having to first come to a parent or an adult to kind of resolve some of their issues. And when I think about resiliency for kids is, like when we were young, if you fall off a bike, you get up and get back on it, right? I think a lot of the kids these days, if they fall, they're talking to somebody, right? Old kids, they don't know how to simply dust themselves off and keep it moving. So when I think about resiliency, I think about the kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s. I think about the kids as like, that we're gonna keep it trucking no matter what happens. And so that's what I think about when I think about resiliency.
Well, is that just something that you think we just had, or is that something we were taught?
I think that was our culture. I think, that was the time of you was when parents would send their kids out in the morning and tell them not to come back until lunchtime or dinner, and you had to deal when you were, in that time frame. And I think we are, and the people around us are different kind of parents, right? Where parents go with their kids to the park, right? We do that today. I mean, we watch our kids at the park before. I don't remember either one of my parents taking me to the park. I just remember being at the park, right? And so I think that the lack of resilience is not really on their part. I think that's on us. I think that's on us. I think we did that.
Do you think we're failing the kids? And so here's another thing I think about at times too. When I hate to generalize saying like the kids nowadays because I think because the environments that I see kids in and the kids that I'm around, right? So
Hmm.
my kids are around Dick. I say it all the time. Like my son is a full blown suburban baby. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, absolutely,
so
absolutely,
so it's like I don't know. So all the kids he's around are the same way, and I don't know if their parents went through the same type of thing or whatever. Because like that's a new lifestyle for me. Like he's getting a lifestyle that I never grew up with.
man. If that ain't the most truth, like, look. So obviously, I grew up, in Atlanta. I grew up on the East Side. It was kind of hood out there. My son, he wants to act like, every now and again that he's hood. I'm like, no, no, bro, you from Fairfax. Ain't nothing hood about you. You know what I mean? Like you ain't had to fight a real day in your life. You know what I mean? And so, but that's us. That's us being untrustworthy of the world around us. But it's also us being untrustworthy of the kids we're putting out in the streets. You know what I mean? Like we don't trust our kids to be able to protect themselves. We don't trust our kids to be able to make the decisions that they need to make to protect themselves. And I think that's on us.
How do you think that is though? But see, I differ a little bit to a certain
Okay.
extent because I definitely I try to put my kids in situations where it's like, yo, you just got to figure it out. Like even if it's little stuff like breakfast. Like, hey, we're not about to give you a
Yeah.
bunch of options. You want to figure it out what's in the cabinet, make it work. Fuck it. I'm tired. I'm not about to be catering to you all day long. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm coming from that old school parent mentality, but like,
I think
yes, I live for my kids, but I'm not catering to your ass all the time.
so. I agree to a point, right? So I let my kids do a lot of stuff. I allow them to do stuff that may get them in, like that may allow them to be dangerous, right? So I let them climb trees, which with I don't think a lot of parents do. Or I let my daughters go to the park, but I do so with knowing that I'm doing something that's uncommon, right? I put an air tag on them so I know where they're going, but I'm letting them go to the park on their own. Hey, look, I'm still 2025, like you know what I mean. I put an air tag on them in a minute. Um,
That's the digital leash,
It is. It's a digital leash.
but it's smart though.
But that's also letting them know that I'm giving them the leeway to go do and explore on our own, right? And like we had to talk like, look, if you're gonna go here, people gonna talk to you crazy. Bring your butt home. Call me on your phone. Call me on your watch or whatnot. But I think it's important for us to give them the space to do things that might otherwise seem dangerous. And I think as fathers, particularly, that's our job, right? Because I don't, whenever I see dads interacting with their kids, it's like that might be dangerous. Or when I see moms, it's not quite the same. You remember the merry-go-rounds, right? That we used to have. There was one up the street from us, and the dads would turn that thing on something vicious. It was flying, kids falling off, But I think that's kind of the thing that's differentiates a dad from a mom is that a mom is gonna be like, we're gonna go around it, slow, but dad's like, no, we're gonna turn this thing up, and you hold on for dear life. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference between dad and mom. But I think the real job of a dad is to prepare a kid for the outside world. That's the job. That's what you have to do, right? And some of that is I'm preparing you to uh to see danger, to avoid danger, and to deal with it as it has going to happen, right? When the not even danger, like just hard things are going to happen. But it's the job of the dad to be like, look, hard things going to happen. You got to push through, and this is how we push through, and that's where resiliency comes from. And that's kind of the thing that I push for my kids every day. I tell my son, do the hard things first, and then the easy things second. Do the hard stuff first, and then the easy things second. That way, you don't have to worry about it because the hard things is always going to happen. You can either choose, you can choose to do the hard things, or the hard things will choose when they come after you. You can choose. And so that's the way that's my philosophy when it comes to parenting. So if you ask him today, he'll be like, yeah, dad says do the hard stuff first. And that's what we do.
So, do you build resiliency different than your daughters than you do your son?
Absolutely not. In fact, in fact, this is thing that I do with my kids, whereas they tell me they're bored, I got something for you. And most of the time it's physical labor, right? And so yesterday, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's 11, she was like, Daddy, I'm really bored. I'm like, I got you. I got you. I said, you can do 3 minutes worth of planks. And she looked at me and she was like, "Wait a minute, you're not supposed to. I'm your baby." And I'm like, "No, no, no. This is what I do. This is my response to that statement. I'm bored. I got work for you, right?" She was like, "I was just playing." I'm like, no, no, you're bored. I got you. So she told me that I can't do 3 minutes worth of planks. I was like, "Oh, of course you can. You can do 3 minutes." And she was like, "No, I can't." And it's funny having a daughter. The tears don't affect me like they used to. They still affect me, but what we got out of that, she did the 3 minutes worth of planks. She cried through it. But what we got after that is like I showed her that although you thought it was impossible for you to do, I knew as a dad that you could do it and that it would be hard. It would be hard. It was hard. She body was shaking and everything. But when she got through with it, she was like, I did that. I was like, yes, you did that. So
See, that's much better than me, man. Because when my kids say shit like that to me, I do not give that type of response. I say, look, I gave you a sibling. Like, figure it out. Like, straight up.
mm-mm.
You got you
No,
got siblings. You figure it out.
I mean, we all got our ways, but that was meant for a specific thing, right? She would because she knows the way she knows what I do when one of my kids say I'm bored. Okay, because otherwise, if they're bored, they know they got stuff to do. They got toys, they got video games, they can go outside and play. If you tell me you bored, you need me to help you, and I got you. I got you. I help. So,
Knew what she was getting herself into.
but yeah, she thought she was gonna get out of it though. She thought I was just joking. No, no, no. You knew what you was getting into. You knew it. And so she did that 3 minutes. She did 3 minutes worth of planks. So
So what do you think you built up your resiliency from?
man, I don't know. Well, yeah, look, I admit, man, I think I was a soft kid. I grew up. I think I was somewhat sheltered a little bit. I mean, I had a little gangster family, but they pretty much, sheltered me from a lot of that stuff. But again, I did grow up in the '80s, so it wasn't. I didn't. The thing about me is that I don't seek help, and I never have. You know what I mean? That's probably things I should do as an adult. But like I think part of that is growing up as a man in the '90s and 2000s and whatnot is that we learn that you it might be a toxic thing of mine that I like to stand on my own 2 feet and I'm gonna make it work, one way or another, right? But I think part of that came was from this environment I came from. You gotta stand on your own 2 feet. You gotta feed yourself. You gotta house yourself. You can't let everybody do the things that you have to do. And especially as I became a father, I was like, well, I am the example that my kids see. And uh, and I hear people say all the time, I remember parents used to say, "Do as I say, not as I do." The fact is, they all do as you do. And so I'm going to be the example. And that's what I'm gonna do. So that's part of what I don't know if I became resilient as a parent. I don't think so. I think I was resilient, probably as a high schooler, as an older brother, as a son of a single mother who struggled every day, right? I had to help raise my brother every day. And we did that. It was me and him for a lot of part. So, my mom brought the food home and if she worked as much as she did. She worked sometimes 16 to 20 hours a day for, months at a time. So it was me and him, that's probably where it came from.
Do you think you saw it from your mother as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, mom, she worked hard as fuck. But being that, I had a single mom as a parent and I'm just the older sibling, I like, look, we're gonna make it happen. We're at home. I learned to cook on my own. I learned to, make sure that, that my brother did his homework, that he learned his shit, that we both got our homework done. Um, that one, he was protected because when we went outside, he got older kids fucking with him, you know. I'm like, all right, well, if you fight, we all gonna fight. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I feel like I've always been resilient ever since a kid. Like
yeah,
it's just whatever I've been
nah,
through. I mean,
I'm pretty sure. I'm
you
pretty sure I
got
was a
to
soft
you
one.
come through. Well, nah, I know I wasn't a soft kid as a kid. I mean, when you got to deal with death and all this other stuff and losing
Yeah,
parents and all that
yeah.
other stuff as a young kid,
I think you
I
had
had no
to. I think
choice.
you. I think you just grew up fast. I
Yeah,
think you just grew
that's
up
what
fast.
and I
Yeah,
think that's what happens to a lot of us. A lot of us grew up fast, and I think we may mistake that as resiliency, as
yeah,
which I don't necessarily want my kids. So it's that's that balance, right? I don't want my kids to get the resiliency through the means in which I had to get it.
yeah. That's rough. You don't want that one. That's
Right. Not
traumatizing.
at
You know
all.
what I mean? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Because I say it all the time. Like it's crazy. Like my kids will never experience, and I don't think my son will experience. I know he hasn't so far. Experiencing jumping the chain link fence, right? To me, it's
Hmm.
just something just as a boy, young boy, you just do. But I
Yeah,
can't even see myself wanting my son to be in an environment in which he has to, or even around fucking chain link fences. So it gets kind of tough where it's like I want them to build it, but I need to find the right means in which to have them do it.
yeah, yeah.
That
I
balance.
mean, I think the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, we here in Fairfax. Hey, there's no point in jumping chain link fences, right? We don't really. They don't get in the fights out here. But like, I find that like if I want to really prepare them for the world without me, then they have to have some resilience. They're gonna need to go through some tough times. They're gonna need to find ways to power through. And I find ways to push them in ways that I think is healthy, that shows them that they can do it. So like I said with my daughter, I made her do the planks. I got a similar story with Aiden, with my son. He was like 8 and he was doing something. He said he couldn't do something. That's the thing. When they tell me they can't do something, I'm like, oh, we can't. Well, watch. Let's do this.
I want to make it do it.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Oh, you can do it, but of course you can. And it might be something crazy, like Aiden said he couldn't do 100 push-ups. I'm like, oh, absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. You can do 100 push-ups. He was like 8 years old. We went through 100 push-ups. It took him like 10 minutes, but we got it. And then he got up and he was like extra proud about it. Being Aiden being my older son, I can see the effects of that now. Aiden is 15 now. He's a freshman. Well, he just finished his freshman year, and he does track. And he comes home every day from track worn out, and he's okay with the adversity. He's okay with the work. But I think part of that is one that I made him do the work early, right? We gonna do the hard stuff and be okay with doing the hard stuff, and he's okay with it. And not only that, he sees me doing the hard stuff. He sees me at home, working out with my trainer. He sees me going to the gym, doing the jujitsu. He sees me going to Krav and fighting people that are way bigger than me. He sees me doing that. So again, I'm the example. He's just following the path that he sees me cutting in front of him.
let me ask you this. Do you think you took the steps to become the example before you had children? Saying as though your little brother, and because I see that a lot, with especially with single moms, or
Yeah,
if you grow up in a single mom household and it's especially if it's younger brothers, like they
yeah,
really,
yeah.
the older brother in the household starts to really take on that male role. Do you think you started it then, or
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So this is what I noticed when I was, we was at home. I'm about 5 years older than my younger brother, and I recognized my bad habits in him early, right? When I was like maybe in the 10th grade, he was like fifth or sixth grade, right? If I came home with a potty mouth, I'm talking shit all day, immediately I saw that of him, right? If I didn't do my homework and I gave some excuse about not doing my homework, same excuses came out of him. So I saw that, I was like, wow, it doesn't matter what I say. Like I can say you got to do this, you got to do this. He's like, well, you don't. Like it made sense. Like shit, I gotta fix that. And so yeah, I think it probably came out of being an older sibling that it started waving, and now when I look back and me and Jay talk, a lot of the things that we learned together, because I think some of those traits we learned at the same time, and he's a father too, and he shows some of the same traits as a father that I do, right? You're like, look, it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna help you past it, but you gotta walk your own walk. This is your path to walk, but you don't have to walk it alone, but you do have to walk it. So
now
that's for sure.
do you see those traits in your kids with your oldest son?
I do. I do. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I see him put in the work. Like, I set lofty expectations for him. In fact, for the track, he set his own expectations. He said he wanted to go to state. He's a freshman. There's no way he's going to state, right? But he did letter. He got his varsity letter as a freshman, right? He got past his school. He got into the districts. He almost made regionals. Like he made his own goal. It was lofty, but he went for it. He put everything he had into it. So yeah, I definitely see that, and I see that in my daughters. My youngest daughter does martial arts. She wants to fight. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, I see them traits in them.
How do you feel
Uh,
about that? Just sidebar.
About what?
Your
About
daughter
which
want
part?
your daughter want.
So my youngest one, she's a bulldog. She fights me every day, right? I showed her how to do a rear naked choke. That was a terrible idea. Um, cause, 'cause she can do it on me, and technically she can put me out, technically speaking. But I think for BJJ, I think it's okay for girls. I think fighting is good for kids in general. And I think fighting is especially good for girls. If they know how to defend themselves, it gives them like a sort of confidence that I can't give them, right? If they can walk around knowing that they can defend themselves, I can't. I can show them how to fight, but if they know how to fight or how to protect themselves, that's something I can't give them. But yeah, I think putting girls in a combat sport is golden.
It's funny. I was thinking about. I wanted to put my daughter in something like that. She wants no parts. She wanted no parts.
Yeah,
But you know what? Neither does my son. I remember a long time ago, I asked him, "Do you want to box, wrestle, anything like that?" He
yeah,
says, "My hands are made for football and basketball." And he was like 6 years old. But yet the
yeah.
boy doesn't play football or basketball. So I put a damn golf club in his hand. So he's stuck
What does
with
he see
that.
you doing? What
Huh?
does he? What does he see? What does he see you do?
Shit, nothing. He
Yeah,
ain't going to see me. Well, look, if he could have spent it, look, he should have been born earlier. That nigga ain't going to see me do. We want to see me in the hospital with a torn ACL or a popped Achilles? Hell no. They ain't going to see me doing that.
you can't. You probably can't wrestle at like a high level anymore, but you could
Oh,
probably. I don't know
wrestle?
if they
Oh
got
no.
wrestling gym.
Oh, wrestle? No. I don't even. I didn't want to get him into wrestling because I didn't want to do it
But yeah.
anymore because
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't want to deal with him dealing with the cutting the weight and all this other stuff. I know the discipline and
Yeah,
stuff that comes with it, but you get discipline in
man.
golf. Come with me, play golf because I can do that
Yeah.
with you for the next 30, 40 years.
So if you play golf, now he wants to play golf, but you see how that works out. Like if you do
He doesn't
something.
want to though.
Oh,
That's
really?
the thing. He does
Oh
it
man.
well, and he's in lessons. He does all of that stuff, but he told his mother and stuff like he doesn't really want to do it. Blah blah blah,
Okay.
and he said, well, did you tell your dad? And he said no because dad's going to make me do it anyway. And
But yeah,
he's right. He's absolutely right. I'm not going to make him do
that's funny.
everything, but I'm going to make him do
Yeah,
golf because
that's funny.
he'll pay it off later on.
It's true. It's true. So funny enough is that like obviously I do combat sports. Two of my kids are into it. My middle child, she's not. She don't want that life at all. She's like, I want to draw and sing. I'm like, all right, do you? But I see some resilience out of her. Like we play fight at home, and she does all that shit too. But she don't want to go to a gym and learn that. But again, I think the fact that they see me do it, like I'm consistent with it. I go every Tuesday and Thursday. I go sparring. I go Wednesday. We go roll on the ground. You know what I mean? Like clockwork. So they see me doing it, and so every now and again they will want to come with me and want to check it out. And then like when we finish, they want to pick up some gloves and some mitts and like this, you know what I mean? But they all like to do something with their, something physically. But the youngest one's the only one that's just like, I just want to fight. She's the only one that wants to fight. But yeah.
Yeah, well, my kids. I remember telling my son before we had that gender reveal for the baby. I said, look, if it's a boy, you gotta teach him everything. Teach him how to throw, run with him, all that shit. Cause I ain't doing it. I'm too old. like,
Mm,
like, what am I gonna look
mm-mm.
like by the time? Yeah, yeah. You're not. I'm not going to have this revelation like I'm not old and shit. We're not having this conversation. I know
Oh my
myself.
God.
My daughter,
Nah.
my daughter. If she wants to be athletic and everything, I now have thankfully enough money to pay for a trainer or something to
Yeah.
run with her ass because I'm not going to do it. I can't
Mm,
imagine. Think about it. At 10 years old, I'll be 50.
yeah.
What do I look like running on the field? I said this the other day. I have not run full speed in about 10 years.
My man. You have no idea. So, so actually, I did a family relay for Mother's Day. My baby, she did the first leg. My second daughter did the second leg. I did third leg, and my son did the fourth leg. I haven't run at full tilt in 10, 15 years. My legs were sore, but I did stretch like hella good before. Like I don't want to be the old man over here with a torn hamstring. But I did it, and I was like, cool. And my son, he's actually again, he's a track athlete. He's like he was moving. He was trying to catch up to the other families. I don't mind doing that. I think it can help keep me young. You know what I mean?
You know that you said that dad that put his hamstring. I will be that
Yeah,
dad. I will be that dad. So I'm like, no, no, I'm good on that. That's those days are done. Those days are done.
yeah,
But you know,
I still got it.
it is good to see that while the kids aren't resilient in the same ways that we are, that they still have
Yeah.
their own built-in resiliency in their own.
Well, I think some of ours do. I mean, I still see kids that like don't know how to solve their own problems, right? They see any particular problem, I gotta ask them for some help, right? And even my own kids, I look up and like, well, you couldn't have fixed this on your own. But I think it's an ongoing challenge. It's an ongoing thing. It's not just a one-time thing. It's like resilience is something that you got to keep building on. It is an everyday thing. I'm look forward to the lessons that happen, right? Because they show themselves every now and again, like this is a moment where I can help you, to just be more resilient. It doesn't happen often, and with my son, it hardly ever happens at all. But the younger ones, it's like every other day. Like, well, did you think about this? Did you figure? Did you assess the situation? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's a continuous thing. It's not something that you can do on day one and say, "All right, we're good now." Nah, it's a job, and hopefully it gets easier. It should be. So,
Well, one last thing. You said and this is we had to stand on our own too.
yeah,
A lot of that's because we really had to, and we
yeah,
necessarily
absolutely,
didn't have anybody to reach out to. We didn't have,
absolutely,
those other things. So while I want my kids to be resilient, I do want them to be able to stand on their own too. But they
yeah.
do know if they start stumbling a little bit, I got their back. So
Yeah, I mean they should. That's trust.
that's the difference.
That's the
That's the
trust. Yeah,
difference.
absolutely.
Because I feel like if I stumbled and fell, I'm gonna break my motherfucking neck. If they stumble, daddy gonna catch them. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think that's trust, right? Because I think about how they should be as they become adults, right? They should be able to handle most of their business, right? But if they're ever in need, where they can't handle on their own, there's always that. As long as I'm alive, you know what I mean? Like I don't care how old they are. If I'm alive and I'm capable, then I'm gonna be there, and I think that's okay.
all right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
We're gonna do this again sometime. I got another topic I
for
want to
sure.
talk to you about.
Let's do it. I'm down for it.
All right. episode of Just My Baby Daddy podcast. I know you like what you saw. So what I need for you to do is go back and look at past episodes. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share our YouTube page, Just My Baby Daddy Podcast. And you can follow us on all social media at Just My Baby Daddy Pod.